All right. So today on our untitled series, we will be talking about The Kissing Booth 2, directed by Vince Marcello. And this was released as a sequel to The Kissing Booth in 2020. It's a Netflix original series, and there's also plans to make a Kissing Booth 3, which maybe would be more interesting with this one. Who knows? But Flora, you said it best. Let's talk about intended audience.
Right. So yeah, it's a high school film meant for eighth grade, like for 8-year-olds. So it kind of reminded me a lot of like Disney Channel original shows where like for some reason all of the characters are older, and but it's not meant for the people in that demographic, because the people in that demographic have already aged out of like the really cheesy, corny, romantic tropes like that are super overdone. And then we noticed that like the setting, like in the arcade, it was a reoccurring setting. It was a lot of 80s nostalgia tied to an arcade, and there was even like a bit. I think the first 20 or so minutes of the film, where Noah called the high school pretending to be the lead character's Els, her dad, which is straight out of Ferris Bueller. And so we were really curious about why were they playing into like this whole 80s aesthetic for a movie meant for such young children. Like how does that appeal to them? Yeah.
Basically, I'm sorry.
No, go on.
I feel like they were trying to apply the movie to an older audience, which doesn't really make sense to me unless it's in the context of like kids are watching it and their parents are watching it with them, and the director wanted the parents to get like a little something out of it, so they put like a Ferris Bueller reference in like the arcade. But it's really not that like successful, because I don't think that the age of the kids are going to be watching this with their parents. Like, I feel like this is like a 12-year-old film. Like, solid, like, 6th grade.
Yeah.
You'd be watching this.
I remember...
And, like,
Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. And like Flora said, like, yeah, like 8-year-old, like 12-year-old. Like, I feel like this is the kind of movie that kids are going to see on Netflix, and they're going to be like, this looks cool, and then, like, watch it by themselves. I don't think it's like a family film, so I don't know why they're trying to market it as one.
Yeah.
I think they, had such success with the first movie that they kind of wanted to drag more of an audience in. And, this movie is pretty obviously meant for, like preteens, early teens. But I remember like some of my friends, when the movie came out, they were all over it. I'm like, you're 16, you're in high school, there's no way you're like believing this. And then when this came out, they even got more so a reaction out of it. So I'm curious, or I'm thinking maybe that they were trying to apply this to a wider audience, and it was unsuccessful, as everyone said, as we've all agreed on.
I really think they really aimed at this high school audience to kind of get high schools involved. But I think it was just so unrealistic with the representation of high school. The actors were obviously not in high school. That really just ended up failing and really being more targeted for like kind of younger audience, like kind of middle school, romanticizing about high school, basically.
Yeah. But the weirdest part of it all is, like, I haven't seen the first one, but the arcade was a part of the first film. So, like, even then, they were using this highly, like, this setting that, like, drips with nostalgia and retro imagery in the first one, but it was still a film made for, like 12-year-olds. So, I don't know what... Maybe the addition of the Ferris Bueller reference was really supposed to like draw in that older audience, but I don't know.
I also thought it was interesting how it's another one of those movies where it's like a teen movie, but all the actors look so much older. Like the person who played Noah literally looked like he was so much older than a teenager. When we were all watching it, we were like, this doesn't look right. And I always think it's interesting how they do that. Like, why can't you just get teen actors and not someone who's like 30 to play?
I've never seen a
an
teen
18-year-old.
movie with like actors accurate to the age
It's
of the
so
teenagers.
odd. Yeah.
Like Flora was saying throughout the movie, he's 40 when we were talking about Noah, he's 40.
It's really odd.
I think I could be wrong about this, but I think a lot of it has to do with child labor laws, where the company making it doesn't want to have to deal with like the work limitations of a 16-year-old. But even so, like if you got like a 19-year-old or like a 20-year-old it would be fine. But these people were so old.
Well,
It was really weird.
Their characters were like 18, so they could have just used 18-year-old
Yeah.
actors who are adults and wouldn't be affected by child labor laws.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they did it though to like show like a very like ideal, I guess, vision of high school and what high schoolers actually look like, which obviously anyone in high school realizes, oh wait, that's not true. But like anyone like dreaming about high school is like, oh wow, this looks so great. I kind of think.
Since our whole kind of concept is like movies that take themselves too seriously, I think one thing that happens in a lot of teen movies that we were just talking about and that happens here is like an element about what makes it so bad is just like inaccurate age of actors, because they're taking it so seriously that they think they need like professionals to be like older, when in reality it just makes it worse.
Like all four of us could be cast in this movie and it would
look way more accurate.
It would, yeah.
Yes.
I could play Noah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So Ava, before we started recording and discussing, you brought up the sexualization of the movie and how disgusting that was for, the intended audience. So do you want to chat a little bit about that?
Yeah. I didn't really like think about it at first, but when we started discussing like the intended audience and how it's meant for like preteens, this movie is like oddly sexualized for preteens, because it's sexualized in the way that it would be like for like 18-year-olds and 16-year-olds to watch, but like the overall storyline is not something that like actual teenagers are going to watch. It's something that preteens are going to watch. There's a particular scene, there's a sex scene between Elle and Noah, and it's like very explicit. And it made me feel kind of gross knowing that this movie is like marketed at 12-year-olds. So I didn't really like that. And feel free to add on to that.
I mean, the whole concept of a kissing booth for like, it is supposed to be something sweet and innocent, but like,
they made it super sexual.
It was super like sexual and weird for, I don't know, to show such like a grand idea of romance to like children, to 8-year-olds, and like start that idea of romance with like payment, like you have to pay to get this kiss, is weird. Like that seems unhealthy. I mean, I don't know much about child psychology, but I can't imagine that's a good message to be sending to children.
Introducing the idea of prostitution through a teen movie.
It's weird. Yeah. And then like also the whole like exhibition thing where like everyone was clapping when like the two gay guys started kissing.
Problematic.
I wanted to talk about their very obvious use of token gays that a lot of teen movies do. But the thing that bothered me about this is usually they'll give them like one thing, but they actually like tried to give them a storyline, but they just did it so bad. They were just like, oh my, like the main character made it seem like a gay best friend kind of trope, where she was like, oh my god, like in these movies the straight girl always treats like the gay boys like little kids. If you've noticed, like she has to take care of them, or like oh my gosh, what's going on with you guys? Like it's just weird. And I didn't like how they made a whole exhibition out of the two gay guys kissing and everybody clapped. Like like they'd never seen a queer person before. It
Like-
was weird.
Men can kiss each other?
Whoa.
What a
I think-
concept.
I think honestly their attempt to include like LGBTQ audiences literally made the film more heteronormative because they're like, these are two gay people and they're the only two gay people in the world.
It felt so cut and dry. It was just like, maybe they like made the movie first and they were like, we need to include more gay people and let's just shove in this random storyline, and they barely even appear.
Yeah, it feels
It's like every once in a
like
while
a
it just,
quota that they're trying to fill.
yeah,
doesn't
it feels
feel
very blotchy and just kind of obscure, and it just feels fake. It feels so fake.
It feels uncomfortable to watch because it feels like they're a spectacle, and it feels like the film definitely was like, this we filled our quota, we're good. And I think it just made the film even more heteronormative of like, this is like a special thing that they're gay, but everybody else is straight and we're all happy.
Okay, so I'm gonna break the fourth wall here a little bit, but I was thinking for our actual show, we could have a segment called the woke quota and like find the character that's obviously just put in there so the film is woke and more tolerant.
That's
that would
actually
be
so
fun.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'm gonna write it down.
That's sick. I like that.
I like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. And I think that's the gay best friend is a good segue into kind of our big old beefy topic for today, the use of tropes.
I have a big list.
Steve's got a big
Of all
old
the-
list.
I do. When we were watching, I was writing down all the tropes that I saw throughout the movie in like a typical teen movie. And let me just say, they really filled a lot of them, which makes it, if you see like a funny movie that's like purposely trying to fill tropes as like a joke, i.e. Scary Movie, which I actually find really enjoyable and I think is really funny, like movies that are like purposefully like that, this just did it like to make a good storyline. All right, first one we have is age gap relationship, where the girl is in high school and the boy's in college, and they have to save their relationship somehow.
And to add on, they're on opposite sides of the country, right? Elle's in
Yep.
California and Noah's in Cambridge at Harvard. And it's this weird love story. We met in high school and we're trying to make things work now. Something that happens often in like real life, but feels very fake when it's applied to movies like
I
this.
think what makes it really fake too is that another trope they're using is that like the main characters automatically go to Ivy League schools. Like always. Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm in Harvard. I have to go to Harvard or Yale. Or like, it's not realistic.
Yeah, they're the only good schools in the universe are ones that it's impossible to get into.
Yeah.
If you can get into a school, your education's terrible. I'm sorry. What can I say?
The character of Noah, no offense to him, but would not be able to get into Harvard. He did not seem to care about school at all.
Yeah.
It's just not realistic. Another trope is, one of my favorite ones is girl rejects kiss from boy by like turning her head 2 times.
And then finally caves on the third. Like
finally caves in the third.
Yeah, like she's expected to kiss him.
Yeah.
This is something that was like meant to be, or some forbidden love that really was it?
No, she could have just broken up with her boyfriend.
Yeah.
Also, the third one, it took place on a stage, and her boyfriend was in the audience and saw. And
yeah,
that's very tropey.
There's another like element of like exhibitionism where like you do this kind of private and intimate thing, but for like a huge crowd of people, and that for some reason makes it more romantic or makes it more dramatic instead of what it usually is, embarrassing and very cringy. Like I think even like the people started applauding for them yet again when they kissed, as if the audience somehow knew their romantic back and forth. It was weird. Yeah.
It feels like Katniss and Peeta from the Hunger Games, where they would like fake romance
It does.
for the
It feels
cameras
exactly
to
like
get
that.
sponsors. It feels like that.
Yeah.
So
They're like,
there's this concept that we've been discussing in one of my other classes, and it's based from Laura Mulvey's visual narrative or visual pleasure and I can't remember the title of it right now, but Laura Mulvey in this essay discusses the idea of fetishistic scopophilia. Scopophilia is like the pleasure of being looked at or to be seen. And there's this voyeuristic quality to this movie, especially when they're on the stage and they're having this kiss, and the whole concept of a kissing booth. It's like you're looking into this what's supposed to be a private world, where this romance is a spectacle of sorts, and its only purpose, seemingly purpose, is to build the storyline that isn't really even being built. It's just kind of disgusting and, dare I say, like pervy, especially for the intended audience.
I think that you'd be absolutely correct. The whole like last segment where everybody's kissing and everybody's clapping feels very voyeuristic to me as well. Like they like being watched, or like people enjoy watching them. And it's weird because that doesn't happen in real life. And it's also very weird for preteens to see. Be like, make out with people and have your friends watch you in public. Yeah. It's weird.
Like, imagine walking down the street with your SO and then, like, you kiss them on the cheek or something, and then, like, everyone around you starts clapping.
Like, bravo.
You're so my brave. God. Oh,
except terrible. For the fact that that does happen with queer couples.
Yeah.
People think they're trying to be supportive, but they're like, oh, you're so brave, when it just makes it very uncomfortable for a lot of people. Or they, even worse. Well, not even worse. It's just equally bad. They'll just be like, ew. But
I'm remembering the title. It's Laura Mulvey's Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema. That's what this is based in, just so I finally get that right.
I think in our culture today there's already such a fetishization of queer people, and this film really took it and ran with it.
Yeah.
But made me uncomfortable to watch it.
All of us at some point during the film were like covering our eyes or like, fake puking.
We just kept like holding, like head between legs.
Yep.
Done.
Yep.
I have a lot more tropes if we want to go into them, or we can move on.
We can talk about a few more. Yeah.
A few more. Very big trope, teen going to high school in California. A really interesting thing, too, is that there was a whole trope about her needing to do this dance competition to get money for college when she lives in a mansion in California. Like, there's no way that she wouldn't be able to afford the school she wants to go to.
Oh, okay, because I think that, I don't know, that reminded me of another point that, like, because this movie is supposed to sell high school, but poverty is not like sexy. It's not something that you can use to like real poverty and like real financial struggle is not something that can be romanticized. So they have to claim it, and they have to just force this narrative that she won't be able to afford the school she wants to go to. Instead, because if they actually showed like a real working class person, that would kind of remove some of the sheen and the gloss of like a private high school in Southern California.
I just thought it was so odd because there's no way, and they have financial issues, and there was no other example of them having financial issues. They live in a big mansion, they have like nice cars.
Yeah, she's a motorcycle.
She has a motorcycle. She has nice clothes. She has like money to run to make t-shirts for her and her friends. Like, there's no instance of her having any financial issues, and I think it's kind of gross that the movie just kind of threw that in there for plotline, because there are people who actually struggle with this and can't afford college and need to do things to work up to it, and they just made this rich person who has a very comfy life be like, yeah, I can't afford college.
Yeah.
And I think, Noah and Harvard, specifically, and then like Elle trying to get into like all these big name schools. It's that like backtracks to that trope. It's just not realistic. Like they could very well, include like Clark. Like let's say Clark.
Yeah.
Yeah, Clark. But it just, again, it goes back to making, the idea that this movie feels very fake to older audiences and, fantasizes this ideal life for younger audiences. And, they expect this kind of like happy ending love story. And, oh, now I'm going to like go to this big name college and, do big things. And, sometimes it isn't always that easy, not always that cut and dry.
I think piggybacking on what you said, I think the whole college application process and admission process is so unrealistic at like in this movie. Like I think very few people actually apply to Ivy Leagues, and even fewer actually get in and go. I think they made it seem like the norm, like it's normal to go to an Ivy League. It's normal to like have all your friends go to Ivy Leagues, and like if you don't do that, then like what are you doing with your life? Kind of. I think it's very unrealistic.
A lot of movies do that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking back to the letter that I was writing, or like the college essay. Where do you want to be in 5 years? And it started with, where do I want to be in 5 years? Well, I want to be da 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 da.
Like college admissions counselors would see that and be like, no.
Yeah.
If it started with, where do I want to go? Well, let me tell you. Like,
I think a lot of the reason, especially like it's a common trope in like these romance movies for, as we were saying, for them to go to big Ivy League schools for the main characters. But I think it might be because it is meant for a super young audience, but like, I don't know, at 8 years old, I didn't really probably know of any other schools besides like Harvard or Columbia or Yale. So I think they're trying to make it as accessible for this young audience as possible, while also, like setting up these expectations that are completely and utterly false.
so I agree and disagree with you, because on the one sense, I completely get what you're saying, and I do think that's true, but at the same time, how many kids know about like California Berkeley, which is like another big focus in the film?
That's true. I probably had no idea what that was.
No, yeah. So I just think, I don't know if they were like partially trying to do it, and then like, I think that since they did that, they could have used like lesser known schools, since they already used one that kids probably don't know. But they didn't.
There was that, as another trip, I'm sorry, we were talking about that public declaration of love and how Rachel, I think his name was Lee, Rachel's girlfriend, Lee's girlfriend Rachel, like, oh, she was enamored by it. It totally won her back, when, once again, just like if everyone started clapping for you when you kissed, it would be so embarrassing. It would be incredibly embarrassing. And there you go. There's another example of like a very private moment, like trying to make up with your girlfriend, made public and made a spectacle and something
There's always,
to watch.
like public declarations of love in teen movies that everyone's like, yay. Another one that I actually related this to, because it connects to two different tropes that were in this movie, was Love, Simon, which isn't the best representative movie either, I dare say. But he has this like whole declaration of love before he like goes to the Ferris wheel, and then they like go on the Ferris wheel. And I think these are separate, but like they have a declaration of love, but they also had a Ferris wheel in the movie with like the second love interest, Marco, where they're like, are we gonna kiss? So They really just pulled in all the tropes, and there's still more.
Yeah.
We could honestly probably talk about these tropes all day. Like, there are so many.
Yeah, there's still many more on my list, but there's only so many we have time to talk about.
Right. And I think the overarching question this series is going to be based on is like, what makes this movie so bad? This particular movie, it's the tropes and the technical aspects that build the tropes. So one thing that we all noticed, it was hard to avoid all the montage.
Yeah. I think I just noticed there was like montage, like at every kind of major point, there seemed to be some sort of montage that they kind of cut together. And I think they kind of use montages to replace like actual like plot development instead of like actually taking time to script out a specific script and really develop the plot further. They said, hey, let's just whip together a quick montage, kind of show what happens very superficially. And I think it also really leads to all the characters are very static and very few of them change for the film. I think it was a result of this lack of like plot development.
I thought it was very distracting as well to try to watch a movie and like engage yourself with that world, and then like every other scene it's just this like flashy montage sequence of stuff, and it was not good, and I don't know why they thought it would be successful, because it's not. This film is taking itself way too seriously, which is the whole concept of what we want to talk about. Because if you have like a parody film that's doing this, it would be like hilarious. You'd be like, oh my god, look at all those montages, haha. But this isn't meant to be funny. They're like legitimately using it to try to make a good movie, and that's what makes it bad.
Yeah, like Ethan was saying, like, you know, like a montage, like it's over a period of time, or like, right, like it's a longer period of time. So using it is like forcing the audience to be like, okay, time is passing. Look, things are happening. They are changing, when literally nothing about the characters changed.
The first 5 minutes of the movie, even, it's just a giant montage sequence. Like, oh, here's what happened last, and here's what's happening over the summer. Let me catch you up. Time is passing. And it's like that's the first thing we see. And I think that really, makes the base for this movie among many other teen films that are similar to this.
I also wanted to say that they use a lot of dissolves, not very successfully, to like look dramatic, but it looks really cheesy. Like when they're dancing and they like dissolve into like the different moves. It's so bad. And also in the sex scene they do it a lot, which is uncomfortable. And I think their goal was to try to make the scenes more emotional and dramatic, but it really made it look super cheesy.
Yeah. Same with that camera technique. What's it called? It started with a D, where like all the lights got like blurry behind them.
The bokeh.
Bokeh, not a D. B. Yeah, that they did that constantly.
Yes. Yeah.
Bokeh.
It was distracting.
It's for sure.
Giant bulbs of light. I'm sorry, there's a truck going by. I hope you guys can hear it. But
I do live in the next hall, so yes, I hear it.
That's right, you do. But yeah, it was just distracting. Most of the camera techniques that were used were just
really distracting.
Extremely distracting. Yeah. The one piece that sticks out to me, and I believe this is more along the lines of editing, is like, I can't remember exactly when it takes place, but I'm just going to Joey. Elle's standing there, and she has all these memories that are flashing behind her, like, Noah and this college application, and then everything with like Lee, and it's I think it's meant to kind of be a point in the movie where everything recaps. It just feels very overwhelming. It's like, oh, what in the world is going on? I think it's a visual representation of what's going on inside her head. which it feels very claustrophobic. And that's what I felt when I was watching it, at least. Just very claustrophobic.
Yeah. Also, like, the drama in the I don't want to call it a film, but in the film was
The
totally,
production.
in the production, it was so forced. Like the thing with like when Lee found out she had also applied to Harvard. Like, what? Oh no! Like, she applied to more than one school. That's
Yeah.
crazy. I think they made a promise when they were like 5, but they were like 5. So why does that still hold to when they're deciding their entirety of their future? I don't know.
The rules. I forgot about the
Yes,
rules.
the rules.
Oh my
Rules.
goodness. Ethan, didn't you try looking up like
I
all the
did. There
rules?
was, unfortunately, I could not find a list of all the rules, but the ones listed in that movie were very unrealistic. Like going to college with your best friend. Like, I mean,
Can't
I'm
do
not sure
that.
I would say it's a good rule, but yeah. Once again, I
don't
get the
do that.
intended audience. Like,
Don't go to college for anybody but yourself.
yes.
Exactly.
Your friends are not going to have the same aspirations of where you want to be or what you want to do.
Precisely.
And it's a very real thing. Like, I know people that I graduated high school with that are going to the same college or colleges very close to one another because they're in dedicated relationships or they're best friends.
If it's coincidental, then like fine. Like me and Nicole are both from Massachusetts. We both went to a college in Massachusetts. I'm guessing you also have friends who went to college in Massachusetts as well, because I know I do. And like I'm close to them, but that's coincidental.
Right.
But if you're going like purposefully for that other person, then that is not cool.
Yeah, like I know nobody else that's going to school in Worcester, but I have a lot of friends that are going to school like over in Boston.
Yeah, me too.
Friends going in Springfield. Some are staying local at like our local colleges, and then I have friends that like went off to California or Minnesota, and it's totally what the heart desires and personal preference, and it's just wrong to base it off of a relationship you have with someone, because that can break so easily, and then like you're stuck at a place that you might not even enjoy, and you have this like this weird emotional connection with someone that's no longer there, and it's just very complicated. So the fact that this movie has this explicit rule number 19, always go to college with your best friend, it's part of painting that unrealistic high school college experience for a younger intended audience. This movie's wild. I can't.
The lack of character development is so apparent. They move from like if like the character development scale is like 1 to 100, they move from 1 to 2.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I realized that I do actually like my boyfriend and not this other guy. Character development. And then Lee's like, I finally realized how not to treat my girlfriend. Character development.
Yeah. It's like this click moment.
Like it takes him the whole movie to realize that he shouldn't ignore his girlfriend for like
yeah.
Right. And that's something in real life, it could take people years to realize, or it could take people minutes to realize. And I feel like it's this weird, like, all of a sudden, like, oh, I get the hint. My girlfriend's been running away from me, and me and my best friend are in some weird love triangle. Not a love triangle, but there's this weird relationship between Lee and Elle, and then Rachel always being stuck in the middle. That like why didn't he realize it sooner?
Because he's dumb.
Yeah, but he got accepted to UC Berkeley, so how dumb could he possibly
be? Maybe he's book smart and just doesn't have a lot of emotional intelligence.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Lack of character development and also lack of personality.
So little personality in the whole movie.
Noah's entire personality was Muscly man.
Muscly
Marco
man.
was jawline and guitar.
Jalen and guitar and
Yes.
dancing.
Oh yes.
Elle was
Dance.
straight.
Straight.
I like boys.
Rachel is almost impossible. She had no defining characteristics. Maybe
Jealous.
marshmallow costume?
Marshmallow costume, jealous.
Yeah.
All right. Do you guys want to move on to our final and what I believe to be the most important question of this whole thing?
I am very ready.
Very
All
ready.
right. Who in this film, The Kissing Booth 2, the cinematic masterpiece, who would we find at Clark University? Date.
Rachel, but only in the marshmallow costume.
I like that.
I did see someone recently in Higgins wearing a taco suit.
I saw
Yeah,
that
I
too.
saw
I saw
that.
that too. I saw
Yep.
that too.
So I think she would fit right in.
I think
Giant food costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about that guy? I mean, he's obviously like 50, but he had the really long curly hair. I think he was supposed to be like a surf. Yeah, the
Oh,
muscle dude. I
yes.
think he could go here, maybe.
I could see
That's
that.
true.
Yeah.
I think he'd be the kind of person that we'd all be surprised to see going to Clark. But then
Yeah.
his personality
Mhm.
would be like exactly the same as everybody else's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was also this girl, I can't think of her name right now. It may have been Gwyneth, but she had like this really emo vibe to her,
The
and I
goth
think her and the muscle man
Yeah.
had this like weird. I could
The
see
goth girl. The
Yep.
goth girl would go here.
Yep.
Yeah.
The goth girl would go here to study women's and gender studies.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And we support her for that. We really,
She'd be a part of Prism.
she would, and it would be excellent.
Yeah. Yep.
I just think that Rachel is the type of person to go to Clark for its academic value instead of its community, and be like very stuck up and like prissy.
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely see her as like a person like that here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right. Does anyone have anything else to add about this lovely, lovely world of the Kissing Booth 2?
Well, I think that we should all say hi to Bart because he's an important member of our team.
Yes.
Hi, Bart.
Hi, Bart.
Hey, Bart.
Hey.
Yeah. He'll be watching all the movies with us just for future reference.
Very
I would like to say that he did indeed watch the last movie with us. We brought him to the common room to watch with us.
Oh, Bart.
It's his new favorite movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
A really fun, engaging discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I will
Great.
stop the recording. Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe.
Oh no!
No.
Oh God!
No.
Oh,
Smash
please.
that thumbs up.
Ugh.
Yes.
All right. Bye.
Ah.